It was supposed to be a night of celebration, right? Ringing in the new year. But instead, it turned into an absolute scene of horror. We're going to break down the catastrophic fire that just ripped through a packed ski resort bar in the Swiss Alps, turning a huge party into a national tragedy. So here are the stark facts. New Year's Eve, a super crowded bar at a Swiss ski resort, and then a fire that claimed dozens of lives. It all happened in the early hours of January 1st, 2026, in the popular resort of Crans, Montana. A celebration that ended in just complete devastation, leaving a trail of death and injury that has, frankly, shocked the world. So the big question, right? How did this even happen? I mean, how does a place filled with laughter and music just become an inferno in a matter of seconds? Let's try to piece together the timeline of this disaster to really understand how something like this can unfold. Okay, let's start with the sheer scale of this thing. To really get a handle on what happened in the Alps, we have to look at the numbers. And honestly, they're staggering. Swiss authorities are confirming that several dozen people are believed to have died. We don't have an exact figure yet, but the human cost here is just immense. Think about it. These were young people, tourists from all over, locals, all just out to celebrate the new year. And on top of the fatalities, more than 100 people were injured. And we're not talking about minor injuries here. The reports say many of them suffered severe, truly life-altering burns. You can just imagine the incredible strain that put on the emergency services. So let's just lay it all out. What? A massive fire? Where? Lake Constellation Bar in Crans, Montana, Switzerland. When? Around 1:30 in the morning, January 1st. And who? A crowd of young people and tourists from a bunch of different countries. A total catastrophe, right in the heart of a beloved holiday spot. But, numbers only tell part of the story, don't they? To really get a sense of the horror inside that inferno, we have to listen to the people who were actually there, the ones who somehow lived through it. And here's where we get our first real clue about what might have caused this whole thing. It comes from two French eyewitnesses, Emma and Albane. They remember seeing one of the waitresses carrying champagne bottles that had, quote, birthday candles on top. Now, they were probably sparklers, and that one small, festive detail, it might have been the spark that set off the entire disaster. This said one of those bottles was held up, and it got too close to the ceiling. And the result? It was terrifyingly fast. I mean, they said in a matter of seconds, the entire ceiling was on fire. And everything was made of wood. The panic that erupted after that is just unimaginable. You've got about 200 people, absolutely terrified, all trying to cram through some very narrow steps to get out, all within about 30 seconds. It just highlights a massive, critical failure point, the sheer chaos of trying to escape. And what was happening outside was just as awful. Another witness, get this, he actually broke a window to get back inside the burning bar to try and find his brother. He said, "I saw people burning from head to foot, no clothes anymore. It was just so shocking." His story really captures both the absolute horror and the incredible bravery of people trying to help. So the speed of this fire, eyewitnesses keep saying it took just seconds. That was obviously a huge reason why so many people were hurt or killed. And now investigators think they have an answer for how it all spread so incredibly fast. Now, authorities were quick to say this wasn't an attack of any kind. Instead, their evidence is pointing to a very specific and very dangerous type of fire. It's a phenomenon that was just waiting to happen in an enclosed space like a packed bar. They're calling it a flashover fire. So what does that even mean? Well, basically, it's when the heat inside a room builds up so much, so fast, that everything combustible, we're talking the furniture, the decorations, that wooden ceiling, it all hits its ignition point at pretty much the same time. And boom, everything bursts into flame almost simultaneously. This perfectly explains what the witnesses saw. The entire ceiling just gone in a heartbeat. Okay, So, a disaster of this size, it obviously triggers a massive emergency response. And the sheer scale of this operation, especially launching it in the middle of a winter night, high up in the Alps, well, that's a story in and of itself.
150 emergency workers, that's firefighters, medics, police, they all just descended on the scene. Their job? Battle this inferno and save whoever they could, all in the most difficult conditions you can possibly imagine.
And get this, a fleet of 40 ambulances was mobilized. They were literally racing from all over the region to treat the dozens of injured people and get them to hospitals as fast as possible. They even deployed 10 helicopters. Remember, this is a remote mountain area. That number, 10, it really tells you how severe this was. They absolutely had to airlift the most critically burned patients to specialized units. And the ripple effect on the healthcare system was immediate. The local ICU at Velas Hospital, it was completely full, just overwhelmed. The crisis got so bad that Italy had to step in. Milan's major burns unit started taking Swiss patients, and other services in the Aosta Valley were put on standby. It turned into a full-blown international relief effort. So now, in the aftermath, the community and really the whole country are left to pick up the pieces as the formal investigation begins. And one of the most heartbreaking tasks ahead is just identifying the victims. Because the burns are so severe, the Italian ambassador to Switzerland said it could take weeks. You just can't imagine what that's like for the families just waiting in that agonizing uncertainty. To try and put this into perspective, a local journalist, Romain Morard, actually compared this to the Sierra Tunnel crash back in 2012, which was one of Switzerland's worst ever accidents. And her words just send a chill down your spine. She said, "It traumatized the whole country. What I saw there is even worse." That tells you everything about the shock and trauma this has caused. So how does a time of celebration become a nightmare? The story of the low constellation bar is just a chilling reminder of how fragile a moment of joy can be. How one simple spark at a party can ignite an unimaginable nightmare. And it just leaves you grappling with that haunting question.